All right, Mr. D, let's talk about home orchard care.
Okay.
And we actually just learned something. Maybe we can hang one of these hummingbird feeders
That's right.
in our orchard to take care of those little insects.
That'd be a good idea.
Yeah, we thank Mitch for that information for sure.
Be worth trying.
Yeah.
The thing that I know I've got apple trees and blueberries and blackberries in my landscape, and everything that I've got sort of finished blooming except for the blackberries, and blueberries are still blooming. But my fruit trees, my apple trees, are through blooming. I know there may be some fruit trees that are still blooming out there. The thing you need to keep in mind with peaches, plums, and nectarines, you pretty much have to control two things on peaches, plums, and nectarines. You have to control the plum curculio, which is an insect, or it can destroy your fruit. And you have to control brown rot, which is a fungal disease. And there are other fungal diseases that attack them, but those are the two biggest problems in peaches, plums, and nectarines. Okay. They really need to be sprayed during bloom with just a fungicide because the early stages of brown rot occur during bloom. So if you have blooming fruit trees out there, I would put at least a couple of applications, early bloom and late bloom, maybe even a mid-bloom application of just a fungicide. And I think Captan is probably one of the most common.
It is.
Common ones out there. But there are home orchard sprays out there that already have the insecticide and the fungicide mixed together. There's several out there under several different trade names. But do not use one of those home orchard sprays while the plants are blooming, because you can kill hummingbirds. And I'm not hummingbirds. You can kill honeybees. Not hummingbirds, but you can kill honeybees, which are very important to pollination. If pollination doesn't occur, you don't have any fruit.
Right.
So do not put an insecticide out there while the plants are blooming. Now, after all the petals have fallen off and after your past bloom, then the simplest thing to do is just to go with one of the home orchard sprays. It's already mixed up for you, and you need to spray, every 7 to 10 days up until harvest. And if you do that, and if the rain doesn't wash your product off, you should have nice, clean, healthy fruit. You also need to be thinking about thinning the fruit. This is too early, really early to do that right now, but it's very important that you control brown rot and plum curculio, or you won't have any good fruit to thin.
Wow.
On peaches, plums, and nectarines. Now, apples and pears, you can get by with being a little more lax on those. They do have rots, several different fungal diseases that they get.
Fire blight.
And which is bacterial, and they do have insects that will get in them. But if you want good, clean fruit, then you need to follow a spray schedule. Basically, spray schedule. And if you're in dry conditions, you can stretch that out to 10 days. If it's raining every day, you need to spray every day, because if the rain will wash your product off.
Wow. And
fungicides, for the most part, are preventative in nature, and they're prophylactic treatment to prevent fungal diseases. And if that treatment is washed off, you have no protection. So,
like it never happened.
So, and the problem we have in our area is there are weeks that it rains every day, and that's why it's such a challenge to control insects and diseases on especially peaches, plums, and nectarines. Because if you go a week and it rains every day, there's no way you can keep that protective coat of insecticide and fungicide on there. And if a female plum curculio lands on your fruit, she makes a little semicircular cut, lifts the flap up, lays an egg under it. So you can actually go to the fruit, the little small fruit, and if it's got a little half-moon shaped scar on it, that egg's already been laid, that little caterpillar is in there. And even the hummingbird can't get to it. But the insecticide definitely can't get to it inside that. But that's what our commercial growers face. You think in your backyard it's a problem. but the commercial growers face that.
I was going to ask you about Mr. Jones.
Mr. Leewood, Miss Juanita, and Henry, you know, they deal with that, you know, all the time, that fruit's forming.
Yeah.
But that's the way to do it, you know.
Now, do we have to worry as much about diseases or insects with our blueberries or our grapes?
You know, I used to say no.
Blackberries and things like that.
You know, blackberries I'm not having any problems with. I lost my entire blueberry crop last year. I have little bitty young blueberry plants, a half dozen or so. And I lost my entire crop to an insect called the blueberry maggot. I'd never, ever had to spray blueberries. I'd never seen that as a problem. But every little blueberry had a little bitty critter in it. So now I'm going to have to spray my blueberries with an insecticide this year. I have relatives that had blueberries that did not have that problem.
Right.
I don't know why I had that problem, but apparently, you know, they like my little hilltop over there, and they attack my blueberry plants. So it's just like anything else, the vegetables and everything. You probably I needed to have done a better job of scouting.
Yeah.
And had I seen that happening, and you know, it was over with before I could do anything about it. I got busy. June is when I'm my busiest time of the year, and that's when the blueberries get ripe. And I went out there to pick some blueberries, you know, and there were no blueberries out there. You know, they were all gone. I probably got 3 blueberries on, you know, my plants that survived. So usually, you know, blueberries are one that are pretty much trouble-free. But I'm not sure, you know, I'm not sure that there's anything that you don't have to, that you better not keep an eye on.
Wow.
You know, if you have an excellent crop of blueberries, then you got to worry about birds. You know.
Yeah, that'll be the next thing.
I'll do that. But you know, follow a regular spray schedule if you want to have good, clean, disease-free, and insect-free fruit. And then there are other things that you need to do. Like I mentioned, I mean, it's not too late to prune. If you haven't pruned, if you drug around and didn't get your pruning done, you know, 3 or 4 weeks ago when you needed to, it's still not too late. Go out there and you can go out there and prune. And I would do that if you've got a jungle, you know, in your trees. But go on and do that and get started on a spray schedule. Hopefully you did a good job of soil testing and you fertilized. You know, it's not now. It's a good time to fertilize if you haven't put the fertilizer out there. But you know, you can over-fertilize. There's probably more danger in over-fertilizing than under-fertilizing. You know, I think peaches, 2 pounds of a complete fertilizer per tree per year of age, up to a maximum of 12 pounds per plant. You know, and it's broadcast in the drip line, under the drip line of the plant. And apples, it's even less than that. I think apples, a rule of thumb, 3/4 of a pound, up to a maximum of 7 pounds. You know, 3/4 of a pound of a complete fertilizer per tree per year of age, up to a maximum of 7 pounds per plant. You know, but those are the things you can be doing right now.
Okay. All right. Got work to do.
Work to do.